Dedication. Farewell, old friend. Poor Pluto's been banished to the underworld, Charon rowing him to the land of the forgotten. School children petitioned for his return, but he was voted off of the solar island. Butterfly effect reference. The butterfly effect is a phrase that encapsulates the more technical notion of sensitive dependence on initial conditions in chaos theory. Small variations of the initial condition of a non-linear dynamical system may produce large variations in the long-term behavior of the system. This behavior, often seen as esoteric, can actually be demonstrated by very simple systems. For instance, a ball placed at the crest of a hill might roll into any of several valleys depending on slight differences in its initial position. The phrase suggests that a butterfly's wings might create tiny changes in the atmosphere that ultimately cause a tornado to appear, or prevent a tornado from appearing. The flapping wing represents a small change in the initial condition of the system, which causes a chain of events leading to large-scale phenomena. Had the butterfly not flapped its wings, the trajectory of the system might have been vastly different. Recurrence, the approximate return of a system toward its initial conditions, together with sensitive dependence on initial conditions, are the two main ingredients for chaotic motion. These factors make complex systems such as the weather difficult to predict past a certain time range, approximately a week in the case of weather. Wikipedia. On the edge of forever, the great extinguisher. Our planet is exceptional at fostering life, but it excels even more at extinguishing it. Of the countless living things that have existed, 99.99% are no longer here.
The great extinguisher. Our planet is very good at promoting life, but it is much better at extinguishing it. Of the billions upon billions of living things, 99% are no longer around here living.
The human race has been deteriorating due to the cosmic microwave background radiation antenna, which has long been malfunctioning, as discovered by TOE-questers in their quest for the theory of everything. No one yet fully understands the irreducible complexity of the DNA double helix, which is the template for all carbon-based life. It is so complex that the slightest change along the myriad of interrelated ladder of events causes the total collapse of the organism. DNA is made of 4 nucleotides arranged in such a way that a large number of perfectly cascading events form a living, thinking life form. Now, what about the DNA at the universal level? Eyes only. Similarly, a much more complex universal DNA template is the common thread of a much greater type of exponentially encrypted digital code of everything which forms our entire universe, generating it in a virtual holographic type way, that is. The infinite radiates through a DNA matrix using information or energy to create the cosmic microwave antenna, which broadcasts interference patterns of virtual reality.
Infinite radiates through a DNA matrix, and information or energy to create the cosmic microwave antenna, which broadcasts interference patterns of virtual reality.
The problem was that the celestial music of the spheres had fallen out of tune.
Butterflies like a banana, so nobody quickly prepared to step into the past through the Guardian of Forever, a means of getting closer to the workings of the cosmic microwave background radiation, CMBR, in order to fine-tune it at the very source.
This was not an attempt to revise human history per se, for that mess was a happening that had way too much dumbness in it to be salvageable. The whims of fate would only create new fools, since wild and uncontrolled emotions had proved to be all that there was to say about all the miseries and follies that had been sadly written into the human chronicle.
Yet there was always a danger of even more negatively affecting the past, and so, nobody wore a light-bending suit that made him invisible, and it furthermore contained most of his emanations. This would minimize most of his effects on the past and on the future that arose through interaction with the past, even that eventually magnifying perhaps of merely being seen with name-brand clothes on.
The microwave background radiation was the source interference pattern of the holograph in which our reality exists. Behind it, a light radiance passed through a very complex matrix looking somewhat like DNA.
Graybeard, Rascal Puff, Prof Pat, Frederick, and others were in contact with Nobody through a videophone that was hooked up to the Hubble telescope that was in turn trained on the display screen of the Guardian of Forever.
Austin was on a secondary line from New Jersey while surfing on the ethereal waves, though sometimes he was merely scraping along on the particulate matter of the beach.
Crowds logged onto ToeQuest, ready to view the latest posts from everywhere and nowhere.
Nobody, knowing very well that time was nature's way of keeping everything from happening at once, took one small step for man into the past and found himself right back standing right in front of the Guardian, and so he took a giant leap for mankind.
Nobody stood in no place during no when in the middle of nowhere, although space really has no center, as he began navigating solely by the landmarks of his imagination towards the control panel of the CMBR antenna.
He had butterflies in his stomach and flew like a bee.
Nobody stood in no place during no when in the middle of nowhere, although space really has no center, as he began navigating solely by the landmarks of his imagination towards the control panel of the CMBR antenna. He had butterflies in his stomach and flew like a bee.
It was like taking the chance of betting the entire company on either red or black in roulette, but was more like Russian roulette, in that really bad things could happen. However, the human race was quite desperate for clearer thinking, having really had enough of pettiness and silliness. Not to mention, which I will, that the angels of insight didn't appear as often anymore, and that many humans even dozed off while good fortune passed them right on by. Nor had they recognized Lady Luck, except in the lotteries.
Furthermore, as Flip Wilson once said, the cost of living is going up and the chance of living is going down. In addition, many were living a TV sitcom life. True, genius has its limits, but stupidity. Many people even wasted no time reading ToeQuest forum posts. Even more said that some things, like ESP, had to be believed to be seen. Others, the types who quickly became bored on rainy Sunday afternoons, invented gods to grant them eternal immortality. Even worse, after all was said and done, more was always said than was done.
Signs in subways said, "There is no gravity. The earth sucks." Everyone was only looking out for number one, not realizing that this often caused them to step in number two. Gandhi, when asked what he thought of Western civilization, said, "I think it would be a good idea." And lots of people said, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we diet," since the waste was a terrible thing to mind. Yes, there were more horses' asses than horses.
"How's it going?" asked Rascal of Nobody.
"It's raining," answered Nobody.
Hardly, inquired Puff, the better side of the plurality of he and himself.
"It's hardly raining hardly," answered Nobody.
"What does that mean exactly?" asked Rascal.
"Never mind," said Nobody.
"I have an umbrella."
Nobody was heading billions of years into the past, having left the asteroid just before he got a Polaroid from sitting on it too long, and was passing many frolicking dodo birds, along with the beginnings of such ancient notions as alchemy and astrology. Hey, why are hemorrhoids not called asteroids? A rickety old rope bridge of rotting planks finally led nobody past many antiquities, such as 1-cent stamps, and onto the control panel of the ancient broadcasting station of CBS.
It's okay, we should, Frederick. No harm done, we'll pass it off as another fact. Nobody was heading billions of years into the past, having left the asteroid just before he got a Polaroid from sitting on it too long, and was passing many frolicking dodo birds, along with the beginnings of such ancient notions as alchemy and astrology. Hey, why are hemorrhoids not called asteroids? A rickety old rope bridge of rotting planks finally led nobody past many antiquities, such as 1-cent stamps, and on to the control panel of the ancient broadcast station of CBS.
Be careful, advised Prof. Pat. Be so very delicate with any adjustments. Remember on Earth how the tiniest minute adjustment of a shower knob of even a millionth of an inch causes the shower water to become totally steaming hot. No plumber in the universe has ever been able to resolve this problem. It has something to do with quarks, quicks, and quacks.
Be careful, advice, Prof. Pat. Be so very delicate with any adjustments. Remember on Earth how the tiniest, miniest adjustment of a shower knob of even a millionth of an inch causes the shower water to become totally steaming hot. No plumber in universe has ever been able to resolve this problem. It has something to do with quarks, quicks, and quacks.
Suddenly, the Chicago Cubs, which had finally made it to the World Series of Baseball, were swept in 4 straight games, while the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and other unbelievables in attendance looked on in horror. Then Michael Jordan gave up basketball for baseball and then switched back to basketball again. Global warming picked up, and then an ice age began. Jesus, born a Christian, became Jewish, then converted back again. Hell froze over and then thawed out again. The same with the river of forgetfulness. Everyone was walking on water for a while and running like hell from Hades. Prof. Pat warned watch that shower knob. Nobody. The river Styx just boiled away and a bunch of dead people drowned after many more escaped. Where are they going? Inquired nobody.
Nobody reached up and out, but the bridge creaked and groaned, causing nobody to slip a bit as a rope frayed, and all the tow researchers feared that his adjustment time was now quite limited. Meanwhile, Barry Bonds had broken the home run record, but, of course, steroids would be blamed for it. Mount Rushmore had briefly turned into Presidents Nixon, Ford, Carter, and Reagan, but just as soon reverted back. However, the Boston Red Sox still won a World Series for the first time in 100 years. Also, it turned out that someone named Yogi Berra had said many sayings that seemed to make sense, but really didn't, like, that restaurant is so crowded that no one goes there anymore. It gets dark early out here. If people don't want to come out to the ballpark, nobody's going to stop them. It's deja vu all over again. I didn't really say all of the things I said, and many more unsayings. Silly signs appeared on highways, like roadworks, it doesn't work well during construction, and speed zone, meaning slow down. Something called rap music had become ever-present, as well as a new word, oxymoron. A funny thing happened to President Clinton, but he wasn't impeached for it. He neither inhales, nor does he have sex. This one may be hard to explain, lamented Frederick, but we'll chalk it up to human nature.
Nobody did some fiddling of some knobs that he wasn't supposed to touch, twiddling more of thisness. And as a result, some people on Krypton started to make every shot in basketball games, even from 50 miles away, being really in the zone, plus doing many other superhuman things. All the TOE viewers from Earth were cheering this, but Frederick warned them that total perfection might take all the fun out of life. Better hold off, Graybeard suggested. Nobody dialed the knobs back a little. Rascal Puff interjected. Some people are now reporting that they can fly like Superman in some new event called sleeping hallucinations or night dreams.
Also, zeros began to look like the alphabetic letter O, causing much confusion, along with one looking like the letter O. And some words began to have the same sound, as called a homonym, but not a homonym, and some with similar meanings, as called a synonym, although it had none itself, and some words now had multiple meanings. And how come monosyllabic wasn't, nor was a phonetic spelled the way it sounded? And why was abbreviation such a long word without any? Also, love was reduced to having only the two good rhymes of dove and above, which soon became overused and stale, frustrating many poets and their readers.
Austin reported that a part of Hawaii had sprung up in Wildwood, New Jersey, named Sunset Bay, and that it had had big fat singers, torches, palm trees, waterfalls, tropical flowers, a half ship at the end of a pier that served as a bar, good food, ordering raw oysters well done, although it consisted of only waves and fields, lucky that his brain turned the noumena into phenomena, and sand all around as a floor. Also, he said that many more O's had appeared in the word goo, oogle.
Frederick suggested that the sleeping visions were harmless and probably helped us in some way, that homonyms gave poets even more rhymes, that synonyms and words with multiple meanings would enrich the language, that zeros could have a slash added through them for differentiation, that typewriters were obsolete, that we could get used to the odd words, perhaps someday getting even with them, that the word of now rhymed with love, that Hawaii and New Jersey would be seen as a planned tourist attraction, and that Google's extra O's would probably get used in a marketing ploy as denoting the internet page ranges of interest. Just about then, the moth-eaten walkway began its collapse, and all the cell phoners quickly warned nobody, for they could see the whole scene unfolding before their eyes knew about it. "Run!" they all said in unison, and with text messages as well. "Run for your life, get out of there, the bridge!" All contact was lost, for nobody's cell phone roaming charges had become astronomical and overdue, causing his account to be canceled. There was now nothing but nothing under nobody's feet, an impossibility of course, for nothing can't exist, but it was there, nevertheless. However, nobody didn't begin to fall right away, as in cartoons when no one falls until they realize through consciousness that there is nothing holding them up. And so he gained a precious second and leapt, just in time, back onto the falling bridge, having had the presence of mind during that split second of warning to attach a piece of tin foil to the antenna, a last-ditch attempt to help humanity progress beyond TV sitcoms, Lindsay Lohan, and Paris Hilton. He moved quickly and soon accelerated to the speed of light, which was a lot faster back then, on the bridge that was literally or virtually crumbling as he ran across it.
Just about then, the moth-eaten walkway began its collapse, and all the cell phoners quickly warned nobody, for they could see the whole scene unfolding before their eyes knew about it. "Run," they all said in unison, and with text messages as well. "Run for your life, get out of there, the bridge." All contact was lost, for nobody's cell phone roaming charges had become astronomical and overdue, causing his account to be canceled. There was now nothing but nothing under nobody's feet. An impossibility, of course, for nothing can exist. But it was there, nevertheless. However, nobody didn't begin to fall right away, as in cartoons when no one falls, until they realize through consciousness that there is nothing holding them up. And so he gained a precious second and leapt, just in time, back onto the falling bridge, having had the presence of mind during that split second of warning to attach a piece of tin foil to the antenna, a last-ditch attempt to help humanity progress beyond TV sitcoms, Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton.
No one knew where nobody was or if he did nothing or didn't do nothing. Concern set in, worry followed, despair appeared. Woe rang the doorbell. Grimness sat on the front steps. A bill collector drove up. Rascal saddened, but kept Googling to keep his mind busy, while Greybeard stopped ogling the virgin superclusters of Virgo with both of his naked eyes, although noting chaste makes waste, keeping one eye open, and even put off the opening of a beer. Frederick, getting all teary-eyed, tried to remember the good times with nobody. Well, that was easy. They were all good times. Rascal Puff checked all of his copyrights. Darn, they're still there. Why is there no sign of nobody, and why is nobody not home, and what is the meaning of what I'm saying? Or not? Well, although we are all supposed to know everything, or at least the theory of, we might as well just ask our teenage offspring, for they know it all. Michael even left his lounge chair and put down his laptop. Austin, although silently alarmed, fed French fries to 1,000 seagulls, his stepkids laughing and taking a video of it, until he ran towards the kids, throwing more fries to lead the flapping flock onward toward them. He thought that nobody might never make it, and began preparing a remembrance.
The possibility of being. This is the creature there has never been. They never knew it, and yet, nonetheless, they loved the way it moved. Its suppleness, its neck, its very gaze, mild and serene. Not there because they loved it, it behaved as though it were. They always left some space, and in that clear, unpeopled space they saved, it lightly reared its head, with scarce a trace of not being there. They fed it, not with corn, but only with the possibility of being. And that was able to confer such strength, its brow put forth a horn, one horn. Whitely it stole up to a maid, to be within the silver mirror and in her, in honor of nobody who can understand the universe, not even needing a place to stand that is nowhere and everywhere, a wizard creating something of nothing whose imagination reaches the edge of forever, beyond, and before. The edge of the universe. Existence extends its electromagnetic reach as far as its atomic influences can reach. Beyond all of that, there is nothing there but the naught of very thin air.
The procession of the constituents of reality, sad yesteryear, forever and everywhere they all came, to weep for nobody nowhere with why and how, then, now, when and what and where, led but by their tears and sorrow. Your posts zing with things that none can bring, everything.
All applauded his return, giving a great reception to the improver of reception, and told him of Earth's many new marvels, for the tin foil had beat the odds, accomplishing some fantastic things. Color had arrived in the world, along with color TV in the late 1950s. Just look at the black and white TV shows made before then for proof. High definition had arrived as well, which allowed us to examine in great detail the pimples on a person's face. 3 types of heavenly things had become permanent features of the world: flowers, night dreams, and elfin creatures, the latter of which were the long-sought missing link between man and angel. Unfortunately, some angels had gone bad, although many had remained good, and thus many leprechauns couldn't be trusted. The Dark Ages had gotten brighter sooner, the Y1K problem. The printing press had been invented a century earlier, A book of Omar Khayyam's 1,000-year-old quatrains was discovered in the Bodleian Library by a janitor, not having been noticed there before, along with Plato's new book of the month, Beyond Metaphysics, and Apple computers and products were improving and catching on to let us tune out reality of all things with the iPod. Someone named Shakespeare had gotten over his writer's block of trying to open a lock with a fish, and so had written some of the greatest stuff ever. Blondes began to prefer gentlemen. James the Lesser was shown to really have less, actually being Mary Magdalene. 10 years had been added to the human lifespan, meaning that 60 was not old anymore. However, we were stuck with cartoons, but hey, they keep kids busy. Ernie Kovac's saying of television is a medium because anything well done is rare still stood firm. But we could better see what was worthless. People still told others to have a nice day, even though they probably had other plans. Everyone still talked with their hands, even while on the phone, indicating that gestures had preceded language. However, men now had nipples, but no matter. Enlightenment grew bright, consciousness becoming more than just that boring time between naps. But some still didn't know and didn't care one way or the other to know the difference between ignorance, apathy, and ambivalence. As for why a building was called that after it was built, no one knew. And why wasn't a thesaurus a type of dinosaur? A new and useful color had appeared that was not even in the rainbow brown. Humor was now more widespread due to expanded and duplicate word meanings. The price of penny candy went up to a nickel. Cigarettes now cost $1,000 a pack. I insured all of my packs, but they were eventually consumed by a series of small fires. My insurance company wouldn't pay, so I took them to court where I was convicted of arson. However, all in all, the world was a better place in that the worst times were now only the worser. Everyone on TowQuest was awarded a free annual trip around the sun and one special trip to Poughkeepsie, New York. Second place was 2 trips to Poughkeepsie. Third place, 3 trips to Poughkeepsie. Everything, at least locally, had indeed turned out to be a single whole defined in the space of equal sign by MJA. But only in that every part of a hologram contained the whole. Quantum entanglement had always suggested this as well, and now could be seen that we all have access to the entire universe at every point of the holographic interference pattern. The many more fractional points that were added by nobody, the better for its resolution.
Everything connecting to everything proved to be a kind of perception in and of itself, and so it begat a TowQuest thread called the Waving Grains of Sand. For every part of a hologram contains the whole universe contained within a grain of sand, all eternity within a moment, the universe rumbling when an electron vibrates. Another missed hint of our 3D projection had been that the entropy of black holes depends on the surface area of its event horizon, not on its volume. Could something like the rippled CMB-R microwaves be that esoteric radiant interference pattern? Yes. Bohm 2 suggested that the whole universe could be thought of as a kind of giant flowing hologram or hollow movement in which a total order is contained in some implicit sense in the same finite space. In reality, time is an illusion.
Perhaps, instead of building one, though, we could tap into the one that already exists within us and is flexible enough to produce great movies. Again, our own night dreams. If we could only record them, keeping the ones with movie-quality film and exciting storylines, we could make and sell movies without paying millions of dollars to writers, directors, actors, and filmers. But who or what is the source of these night dream movies? Who's the producer, the director, etc.? For night dreams seem to contain surprises, a production capacity way beyond that of ourselves, of people acting in character modes that we as individuals might not even possess, say, that of being singers or comedians or whatever. I don't see us putting Spielberg out of business soon, but I have many lucid dreams, and I like to observe them closely. They are really quite spectacular. Sometimes I just watch. Other times I amaze the onlookers with my ability to fly and hover. One time some music kept playing for a minute or so after I awoke. Other times I'm just amused by the viewpoint. I was in a plane that was crashing through a jungle, but the viewpoint suddenly switched to one that was from outside the plane, just as real movies do. So dreams, their mere happening, should be telling us something remarkable about reality. And these kinds of clues are what I try to make significance of.
you.